Hello, my name is Jake Opterbeck. I am a math and economics major and a data science minor at Lafayette College. And the purpose of this video is to explore algorithms. Algorithms are everywhere in today's society. They are in many different fields, and people come across them on a daily basis. Whether this is a good or a bad thing is up for debate. This video will take a look at three different stories about how algorithms have either been used or not been used as technology has advanced, and what the societal impacts and takeaways are from these stories. So, the first story comes from the USSR, and it is the story of Stanislav Petrov. So, during the Cold War, tensions between the US and the Soviet Union were at an all time high. Both countries had access to nuclear missiles, ones that could cause mass destruction, potentially ending, a lot of lives. Petrov was working the night shift in a USSR bunker one night. Suddenly, the alarm blared, signaling an American missile launch attack on the Soviet Union. Petrov was supposed to report this information to authority so that they could gather the information and send a counterstrike on the US. However, Petrov hesitated. The system showed that the USA had sent 5 missiles at the Soviet Union, which would have been a quite a small number for an opening US attack. So what he did is he trusted his instincts and he decided not to report to authority to send a counterattack. 23 minutes went by and Petrov and his crew were waiting and waiting. And eventually, what probably felt like eternity, it turned out he was right. The system had made an error. He saved the world from a potentially disastrous nuclear war. This story highlights the trade offs between fully trusting an algorithm and understanding when to override with human insight. Oftentimes, people put all their trust into an algorithm, which they shouldn't necessarily do. Algorithms can certainly make mistakes, even though people tend to trust them like they are can do no wrong. I think it's important to understand the context of the algorithm to make a decision. For example, this one could have had potentially world ending consequences. So it was very important for Petrov to at least consider the possibility that the algorithm was wrong. And thankfully he did. Um, yeah, so like when life or death stakes are present, it's definitely important to consider that. However, you also, for example, again, the context matters. If, let's say, at a roller coaster, if the algorithm says that it's not safe to send the roller coaster out, but the people do anyway because they don't trust the algorithm, that could be bad as well. So it definitely depends on the context that you're going for there. The second story involves Target, the store. In 2002, Target started looking for unusual patterns in their customer data, and they used this to try and gain insights about their customers. They found that the purchases of unscented body lotion were heavily tied to pregnant women. This was because pregnant women used this lotion to prevent stretch marks. They would also buy vitamins and supplements earlier on in their pregnancy, and later on in their pregnancy, closer to when they were due, they would buy cotton wool. It was important for Target to appeal to these women so that maybe they could continue to shop there after they give birth as well. So they ran an algorithm and to use this algorithm to come up with a score or a probability that each customer was a pregnant woman. And they used this to send out coupons to those customers for baby related products that they might need. Well, it was all going well until one day a father came in very angry that his daughter had received these coupons, claiming that Target shouldn't be prioritizing or highlighting or praising teenage pregnancy. So Target apologized for the situation, and that was that. However, it turned out that the father was wrong and his daughter actually was pregnant. The dad had to come in and apologize. So what's interesting is that Target's pregnancy prediction algorithm was able to find out that the girl was pregnant before her parents did. What they did, instead of scrapping the entire system, they sent out coupons related to baby related coupons tied in with normal items to not seem like they were targeting a specific group. And they did this because people often don't want to seem like they're being targeted. They're more likely to shop if they see these coupons, but it's not a direct coupon like, hey, we know you're pregnant, so you should come here. The important takeaways from the story is that your data is everywhere, right? Companies can use your information and they know a lot of information about you, and they use this to come up with insights about you. It's important to consider where the line should be drawn between what is acceptable and useful information in today's world and what is creepy and what might be crossing the line of being doing too much. Algorithms have the capability to make predictions about us or assumptions about us that maybe your parents don't know, maybe even you don't know about yourself, and you could be targeted unsuspectingly as a result. So it's important to consider the consequences here. The last story we have is called The Company Baby. And this came in 2009. Pierre Cedric Bonin was the youngest pilot among those working for Air France. He did not have this nearly the same amount of flying experience as any of the other pilots that he worked with. Well, one night he was in charge of flying from Rio de Janeiro back to Paris. The issue was Bonin pretty much only ever monitored the autopilot system instead of actually flying the plane himself, especially on the very high tech Airbus A330 that he was in charge of this night. Unfortunately, ice crystals formed inside of the airspeed sensors inside of the plane, and as a result of this, the autopilot couldn't take a reading, so it disabled itself and the human crew had to take over, which should have been fine. However, once turbulence came, Bonin overreacted. What he did is he pulled the side stick straight back because he thought the plane was free falling, and this made the plane climb higher and higher, and it was going at a very steep angle. Eventually, the plane was facing so far up in the air, the nose was up in the sky, that air could no longer flow underneath the wings of the plane. The plane free fell nose up out of the sky as a result. The other pilots floated in and told Bonin that maybe he should push the stick forward, but unfortunately, it was too late at this point, and the plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. So this could have been prevented if the pilot had more training, and the story certainly brings up the question of what happens if people don't have the necessary training in the future because of their over reliance on algorithms, right? Think of a world where everybody uses a self driving car. Well, what happens if that self driving car needs the human to take over? Is the driver going to have the proper experience and practice and knowledge on how to use the vehicle? Or are they going to be too reliant on the self driving features that they don't know how to use the car? More generally, I want to raise the question, does an over reliance on algorithms and not necessarily human technique or human skill actually create a better future? If we're using algorithms and AI for everything in the future, what skills are we left to have? It would be like the algorithms are doing everything for us in society, and we might not have certain skills that may be crucial for us in certain situations. So these were three stories that explore algorithms and their potential societal impacts. And I hope that you are now considering the potential consequences that algorithms can have for you, but also for society as a whole.